I'm a 26-year-old woman, and I have a fraternal twin sister named Natalie. We were raised just outside Seattle by our mom. People used to assume being twins meant we were close. We weren't. We were never anything alike. Natalie was the type to walk into a room and instantly pull every eye toward her. She had this charm that worked on teachers, neighbors, and even people she'd just met. I was the one who'd be off to the side, doodling in my sketchbook or sneaking off early from school dances. I liked quiet. She liked being adored. In high school, she was everywhere: cheer captain, student council, prom committee. I spent most of my time preparing for art competitions or figuring out how to get a full ride to college. Our mom worked 2 jobs, and if I wanted to make it out with a future, I had to build it myself. Natalie, on the other hand, floated through everything. Teachers cut her slack. Friends covered for her. She always had someone willing to clean up her mess. I got into a private design school with a partial scholarship, took the rest out in loans, and worked at a local print shop to cover my bills. Natalie followed me to the city a year later, enrolled in a nearby university, then dropped out halfway through sophomore year, said school wasn't for her. She bounced around after that, retail jobs, trying to be a lifestyle influencer, some random marketing internships she never finished. I didn't think too much about it. We were both adults. She could live however she wanted. Then, about 2 years ago, I started getting weird emails. One was a job offer for a design role I never applied for. Another was a credit alert about a new account being opened under my name. I figured it was identity theft and froze my credit. But that didn't explain the portfolio links I began seeing, websites with my work on them. Same color palettes, same branding, even the same mock-ups, just under a different name. Hers. The emails, the portfolio theft, the job history, it all connected. Natalie had taken my resume, copied my design projects, and built herself a fake freelance career. She even claimed to have gone to my design school. When I asked her about it, she didn't even try to lie, said she was desperate, said I already had a job and she didn't. She called it borrowing, said she'd stop when she was on her feet, swore no one got hurt. She begged me not to tell our mom. I told her I wouldn't. I also told her I forgave her, but I lied. I wasn't interested in revenge born out of anger. I wanted it to mean something. So I kept quiet, and I started collecting everything. Emails, screenshots, messages, posts. Every gig she claimed credit for that was actually mine. I saved the metadata files from my old work, tracked timestamps, even traced some IPs. I wasn't in a hurry. I just waited. We didn't talk much after that. When we did it, it was basic stuff. She thought I was over it. I let her think that. A year ago, she started dating a guy named Ethan. He was different from the guys she used to bring around. Stable, polite, driven. He had his own house and a real job in finance. From the outside, he looked like someone who had his life together. I didn't know him well, but I could tell he believed every word Natalie said. And Natalie had reinvented herself completely. She wasn't the flaky dropout anymore. Now she was a self-made branding expert, a woman who climbed the ladder through grit and talent. It was my story. She was just wearing it like a costume. 6 months ago, she posted a photo of Ethan down on one knee, a diamond ring on her finger. The caption was something like, "From struggling artist to fiancé, dreams do come true." Comments flooded in. Old classmates congratulated her. Friends from school called her an inspiration. I watched the whole thing unfold with this strange sense of distance, like I was seeing someone live a version of my life I never gave them permission to take. 3 weeks ago, a formal invitation came in the mail. Green envelope, gold lettering, RSVP card tucked inside. She wanted me there as her maid of honor, the sister who forgave her, the one who would smile for the photos and clap at the right moments. I wrote yes in neat handwriting and mailed it back the next day, because I already knew what I was going to do. With the wedding 4 weeks out, Natalie suddenly became very interested in playing the role of the devoted sister. Group chats started, phone calls ramped up, and she looped me in on every tiny decision, table arrangements, seating plans, color palettes, not because she cared what I thought. It was for show. She needed people to see us close, to buy into the picture she'd painted online. I said yes to helping with the wedding invitations. It was easier to stay inside the process than outside of it. She acted like it was this big bonding moment. Told people it meant so much that I was involved in her special day. What she didn't say was that she was only getting married thanks to the fake career she built from my work. A few days after I sent the final drafts, I got an email from Ethan. He thanked me for the amazing invite design and mentioned how proud he was of Natalie's brand vision. That word stuck. Brand. I asked him which version he meant. He sent me a link to her professional website. The first thing I saw was a landing page I made 3 years ago. The same layout, same logo, same project titles. Even the file names were identical. She hadn't changed a thing. She never stopped. That was the part that stuck. Even after I confronted her the first time, even after she promised to stop, she kept going, undeterred by any consequences. Same fake career, same fake narrative, all still in place. I used a fake email account to contact her company from a secure device, ensuring Natalie couldn't trace it back to me. Sent a general inquiry, asking for a sample portfolio and client references. The email I got back was a full PDF. My PDF, not a modified version. The actual file I made, just with her name slapped on the front page. She'd copied everything down to the smallest detail, including the made-up parts of her career she'd borrowed from mine. She said she graduated from my school, interned at my old agency, even mentioned a viral social campaign I led during my final semester. None of it was hers. All of it was being used to sell her. I didn't change how I acted around her. If anything, I was friendlier. I threw in harmless little comments like, "It's weird how lies always come out eventually." She always laughed, but her eyes darted, like she was checking if I meant something more. That was enough for me. I ran into Kara a week later at a bookstore. We hadn't seen each other in years, but we talked for a few minutes. She told me how amazed she was by Natalie's transformation. Said everyone from high school was talking about how far she'd come, from dropping out to now being this big design success. I asked if she remembered where Natalie went to school. She paused, clearly unsure, and guessed it was the same one I went to. It wasn't a guess. Natalie told her that. It clicked in that moment. Ethan wasn't in love with Natalie. He was in love with the story, the curated identity, the polished version of a hardworking, talented woman who had supposedly built something out of nothing. That wasn't her journey. It was mine, word for word. I started making a wedding gift, a custom frame timeline of their love story, how they met, their first trip, the job that launched her career. It looked like a sweet tribute, but every single design on that timeline had been taken from my original work. Fonts, layout, icons, even quotes I'd once used in a campaign. Anyone else would just see a romantic decoration. But if someone knew the truth, it was a flashing sign. Natalie never brought up the past again. She probably thought I'd let it go. She was wrong. I wasn't planning to have another talk with her. I was planning to close the loop. I printed everything. Emails from clients who had unknowingly hired her under my name. Before and after screenshots of my original projects and her copies. I had metadata logs proving I created the files. Even timestamps of social posts that showed she uploaded work days after I did. I printed them and put each set into labeled white envelopes. One for Ethan, one for his sister, one for his mom. Then I uploaded the same evidence to a private cloud folder, locked it, and created unique QR codes for each of them. I tested every link twice, encrypted the folders, and saved backup copies on a flash drive. Nothing was going to get lost or erased. The night before the bridal shower, I ran a final check. 3 sets of envelopes, 3 QR codes, all clean, all clear. No room for doubt. The wedding was just under a week away. Everything was in motion now. Natalie had no idea. She was busy picking table runners and cake samples, smiling in photos, writing captions about love and trust and fate. She thought she was walking into the best day of her life. She had no idea the truth was already printed, packed, and ready to be unwrapped. The bridal shower took place at a vineyard about 30 minutes outside town. White tables under ivy-covered trellises, pastel napkins, glasses of rose clinking nonstop. Natalie had chosen everything down to the playlist. She made a big deal about me giving the opening toast, called it tradition. But it wasn't about tradition. She wanted me in pictures, front and center, proof that everything between us was perfect. I wore a lavender dress, simple makeup, clean hair. I kept my voice steady, my smile even. I talked about growing up together, about how different we were, but how life still brought us to this moment. People laughed at the right spots, nodded along. Natalie beamed beside me like she was soaking in the spotlight she thought she'd earned. Ethan's mother sat at the main table, watching me more than anyone else. After the toast, she came over while everyone else was fussing with gift bags. She asked where I went to school. I gave the real name, same one I've always used on my resume. Her eyes narrowed just slightly. Then she said Natalie had told her she graduated top of the same program. No reaction from me. Just changed the topic to wine pairings. But I saw the crease form between her brows. The first crack. Every group in Natalie's new world had been told a version of the truth. Enough to sound real, never enough to check. That worked, until people from different groups started talking. During lunch, we were sitting at a long table under a canopy, about 10 people, some friends, a few coworkers, 2 cousins, and Ethan's mom again. The conversation turned to creative jobs. Someone asked about inspiration, and Natalie started rambling about building your brand from scratch. I let her talk, then leaned forward and asked a question like I was just joining the discussion. Do you think it's still considered theft if someone uses someone else's designs but succeeds with them? Forks paused. One clinked against a glass. Natalie's hand froze mid-cut. She laughed it off and changed the subject quickly. No one pushed, but the pause was enough. After the guests started leaving, Natalie pulled me aside behind the tasting room. She kept her voice low, asked what that comment was supposed to mean. I just smiled and told her she was probably just stressed. Big week ahead. Her eyes didn't soften. She scanned my face like she was trying to see behind it. The warmth she usually faked so easily was gone. I could tell she was starting to feel the ground shifting under her, but she didn't know how deep the cracks ran yet. Later that night, she sent me a voice message. Her tone was clipped. She didn't shout. She said if I ruined this for her, she wouldn't forgive it. Then she caught herself, deleted the last sentence, and ended the message there. I didn't reply. There was nothing to say. I opened the envelopes one last time, checked every screenshot, every timestamp, verified the metadata logs, confirmed the print quality of each photo. The files were still intact, untouched, complete. The frame gift was done too. It looked beautiful, clean white matting, sleek black frame, elegant typography. Every event in their relationship timeline was illustrated with one of my stolen projects. It looked romantic to anyone else. To me, it was a full confession in disguise. A friend I trusted had agreed to help with the final step. She didn't ask why I needed her to deliver envelopes during the ceremony. I just told her where to be, when to act, and who to hand them to. She listened. That was all I needed. The digital backups were re-uploaded to a secondary drive. QR codes were tested again, this time on different devices. All of them opened directly to the evidence folders. Each one labeled clearly, resume fraud, project theft, identity claims. 4 days until the wedding. Natalie was still smiling in selfies and posting countdown stories on Instagram. She updated her bio to say soon to be Mrs. with a sparkle emoji. Her caption on one post read, "So lucky to be loved for who I truly am." She still believed she'd gotten away with everything. She still believed she had won. What she didn't know was that her story had an expiration date, and it was already printed, framed, encrypted, and set to go live. The rehearsal dinner was held in a private hall by the lake, stone patio, hanging string lights, tables lined with eucalyptus branches and gold-rimmed glasses. Ethan's parents, sister, cousins, and some out-of-town friends had flown in that morning. Servers moved through the room offering appetizers on trays. Everything looked polished, like a wedding magazine spread. I kept things simple. Navy dress, hair down, no flashy jewelry. Stayed in the background unless someone pulled me into a photo or needed help with logistics. Natalie made sure to keep me near her most of the night, introducing me as her amazing twin who made all the invites. Everyone smiled and nodded, but the compliments started to hit differently. At the bar, Ethan thanked me again for the designs, said Natalie had called it her personal brand vision. That word, brand, came up a lot with her. I just said that designs often tell a story, if people know where to look. He nodded, then moved on to greet a family friend. Natalie joined the conversation midway, slid in close to Ethan like she was guarding territory. Her smiles were bigger than usual, her laugh a bit too sharp. She scanned faces constantly, like she was checking who was watching. Across the room, Ethan's mother sat at a table sipping from a wine glass. She wasn't chatting much, just watching. Her gaze moved from Natalie to me and back again. Every time someone mentioned Natalie's career, she tilted her head slightly like she was waiting for a puzzle piece to drop into place. About an hour in, while people were lining up for dessert, one of my old college professors showed up. He had been invited by Natalie's father-in-law, who supported the arts. I hadn't seen the professor in years, but he remembered me immediately. Said my name, asked if I was still doing the campaign-style graphics I used to submit for his class. Before I could answer, Natalie appeared at his elbow and steered him away with a loud laugh and a comment about how she must be confusing me with someone from his past classes. A few minutes later, I caught her whispering something to Ethan's mother, who frowned and gave a tight smile. I didn't correct her. I didn't interrupt. I just watched Ethan's mom grow more curious and more quiet with each new lie she heard. Back in the bridal suite, after the dinner, Natalie tried on her wedding dress one last time. She turned slowly in the mirror, then looked straight at me, asked if everything looked perfect. Her tone was soft but off balance. She kept touching her earrings like she couldn't keep her hands still. She said it meant a lot that I was still there, helping, after everything. She didn't name what everything meant, just left it hanging in the air like we both hadn't been pretending for months. I asked her one question, do you think Ethan would still love you if he knew where your story came from? She didn't move for a second. Then she answered that he loved her, and that's what mattered. The rest, in her words, didn't change who she was now. I didn't respond. I picked up my clutch, stepped out of the room, and walked straight down the hallway. Outside, my friend was waiting near the guest exit, dressed like any other vendor. She had a messenger bag slung across her shoulder. I handed her 4 sealed envelopes, one each for Ethan, his mother, his sister, and his best man, each one marked by name in neat handwriting. She didn't ask questions, just nodded and slipped them into her bag. The night ended with sparklers and champagne. Natalie posted a story tagging the venue, captioned, "Last night as a fiancé, tomorrow, everything begins." She was half right. Tomorrow, everything begins, but not the way she thought. The morning of the wedding, the estate came alive by 7 a.m. Hair and makeup artists moved between rooms with curling irons and makeup kits. Florists arranged centerpieces along long wooden tables. Caterers hauled trays through the back door, while the planner barked orders into a headset. Natalie walked from room to room like she was gliding, white robes, silk slippers, champagne glass in hand. My friend texted just after breakfast. Envelopes were still safe. She'd wait until the ceremony to hand them out, exactly as planned. No questions, just confirmation. An hour before the start, Natalie had a meltdown about her missing shoes. She flipped every box in the bridal suite until someone remembered I had picked them up from the hotel room. I took my time bringing them back, placed them neatly beside her mirror, and left a note in the corner of her open journal. 4 words, nothing else, you were warned the guests began arriving. I stood by her side as the maid of honor, adjusting her veil, smoothing her train, keeping my face calm. Her dress was perfect, makeup flawless. She looked like a bride from a movie. But everything about the moment felt staged, like we were standing inside a lie dressed up in lace and flowers. Ethan stood at the altar. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. His gaze flicked back to Natalie more often than usual, like he was trying to solve something in real time. When she walked down the aisle, his hands stayed still at his sides. My friend moved quietly between rows during the vows. She whispered that the cards were from someone who couldn't attend. One envelope to Ethan's mother, one to his sister, one to his best man. Polite, casual, just enough to go unnoticed. Ethan's mother opened hers first. She didn't gasp or flinch. She just stared down at the pages, then looked at me. Her face didn't twist in anger, just focused attention, like she had been waiting to see something, and finally had. Ethan's sister followed. Her eyes darted back and forth between the envelope contents and Natalie at the altar. The best man read his quickly, folded the papers, and tucked them into his jacket. All 3 of them shared subtle glances. No words, just understanding. The rings were exchanged. The kiss sealed it. They walked back down the aisle as husband and wife, but Ethan didn't walk like a groom. His shoulders were straighter, his eyes scanning the crowd. Natalie clung to his arm, still smiling like she had won something. At the reception, Ethan disappeared from the dance floor within 30 minutes. Natalie noticed and asked if I'd seen him. I told her he had stepped out with the photographer for sunset shots. She didn't question it, but her expression tightened. In a corner of the garden, Ethan sat with his mother and sister. They spoke in low voices, heads close together. The envelopes sat between them on the bench. Occasionally, one of them would point to something inside. No one else approached them. Back inside, the crowd buzzed with quiet energy. Guests kept looking around, whispering, glancing at Natalie, who was scanning faces like she was trying to spot a threat. Her laugh got louder. Her smile got wider, but the edges were starting to crack. When Ethan returned, he didn't go to her. He went straight to his best man, handed back the envelope like he was delivering classified information, then stepped aside. The best man opened it again, read it slower this time. Natalie found me near the drinks table, asked what was going on. I didn't dodge the question. I told her it was something long overdue. She didn't say another word, just turned and walked inside. I didn't follow. Everything that needed to start had started. The wedding was over, but the truth was still unfolding. Natalie found me near the back kitchen hallway, where staff were prepping the late-night snacks. Her makeup was still perfect, but her eyes weren't. She looked like someone trying to hold up a wall that was already cracking. No screaming. Just quiet words, sharp and fast. She knew. She knew it was me. I didn't pretend otherwise. There was no point. She said I ruined everything. Said I had planned this. She wasn't wrong. I told her she built her entire life using mine, and all I did was show people the real foundation underneath. I said she should be lucky I didn't do it sooner. She tried to flip it. Said I must have been jealous. Said I wanted Ethan. I told her I wouldn't want a man who didn't even know who he was marrying. She stopped talking after that, her hands clenched at her sides. She looked like she didn't know what to say next for once. She stood there staring at me, not as the twin who had always been in the background, but as the one who now had the upper hand. Then she said she was just trying to become someone better, that this was her shot at a real life. I told her she should have tried building one without wearing someone else's skin. She didn't answer that either, just turned and walked back toward the reception like nothing had happened. By the time she reappeared on the dance floor, the energy had changed. Her smile was still there, but it wasn't real, not even close. Her shoulders were too stiff. Her hands fidgeted with her bracelet. Ethan was gone from the head table. A few guests looked around like they noticed something was off. A couple of whispered conversations popped up. Phones were being checked more than before. Ethan's mother and sister sat at a corner table, untouched plates in front of them. No smiles, no drinks. They weren't talking to anyone else. The best man had stepped outside again. A few guests followed. Natalie stood alone at the center of the room for a moment, looking around like she was searching for a cue. Then Ethan came back through the garden doors and walked straight to her. No hand-holding, no warm gestures. He asked to speak with her. She nodded, and they both stepped out to the patio behind the venue. From inside, I could see them through the glass doors. They weren't yelling. They barely moved. Just stood across from each other, talking in low voices. At one point, Ethan held out the envelope again. She didn't take it. He folded it once and put it in his jacket. He came back inside alone. He walked to the mic by the DJ booth, tapped it once, and raised a glass. Thanked everyone for coming. Said the night would end early. That was it. No explanations. Just a toast and a quiet, final goodbye. The music stopped. A few people clapped, confused. Most didn't. Guests began grabbing their coats. Some avoided Natalie's direction completely. Others walked out without saying a word. Within 15 minutes, half the venue was cleared. Natalie returned alone. Her bouquet was gone. Her veil, too. She stood in the middle of the dance floor and didn't move. Not even when someone came by to start collecting table cards. No one approached her. Everyone avoided her eyes. Later that night, Kara messaged me. Said she'd seen Natalie leave through the back exit and toss something in the trash bin by the parking lot. The frame I had made, their love story timeline. She hadn't even unwrapped it. I didn't reply. That gift wasn't made to be saved. It was made to be seen. And she saw it. I didn't stick around much longer either. I walked out without any speeches, without any dramatic exits. No revenge. No explosion. Just truth. And Natalie, standing alone in a dress that didn't belong to her story. By 9 a.m. The morning after the wedding, the estate looked like an empty stage after the play ended. Half the decorations were gone. Flower petals scattered across the patio. Rental chairs being stacked by staff in silence. Ethan and his entire family had left hours earlier. No note, no goodbye, no explanation left for Natalie. She stayed upstairs most of the morning. When she finally came down, there were only a few people left. Friends who hadn't gotten the full story. She told them Ethan had left early to clear his head. No one argued. They just nodded and kept packing their bags. I didn't stay for the awkward brunch. No photos, no small talk. I zipped up my bag, walked past the scattered centerpieces, and drove off without a word. No one stopped me. 2 days later, Ethan sent a short email from a new address, indicating a final message with no intent to reconnect. Thanked me for the information. Said he'd ended everything with Natalie and moved back into his own place in the city. He didn't ask for more, didn't offer anything else. He just made it clear there'd be no contact going forward. No questions. No loose ends. A week after that, a regular freelance client of mine mentioned that Natalie's company had issued a quiet internal restructuring announcement. It didn't take much to translate that. She'd been let go. Apparently, once the story was out, the company checked her background, portfolio inconsistencies, falsified school credentials, fake client experience. HR didn't sweep it under the rug. She was dismissed with a permanent black mark in their system. No chance of returning. A few people from our circle reached out to me, curious about the rumors and updates they'd seen online. Some were shocked. Some tried to stay neutral. 1 or 2 quietly unfollowed me online. I didn't chase explanations. I didn't defend myself. People believe what they want. I let them. Our mom called not long after. She didn't know the full story, just the filtered version Natalie gave her, that there'd been some misunderstanding, that Ethan had cold feet, that I had taken sides. I didn't argue. I didn't clear anything up. I just started speaking less. Then not at all. I never blocked her. I just stopped updating her. 1 skipped phone call turned into 2. Type messages went unread. Eventually, the silence became routine. Natalie never reached out directly. She made a few vague posts online about betrayal and lessons learned, but nothing clear. She asked one of our old friends if I was okay, knowing she couldn't message me directly. I never answered. The last time we spoke was at the reception. I didn't need her apology. I didn't need her understanding. The damage was already done, and I had all the proof ready to back it up. I rebranded my portfolio under a fresh name, updated my resume, and finally accepted some bigger contracts I'd been delaying. I didn't start over. I took back what had been mine all along. There was no explosion, no viral ending, just the truth, quietly placed where it needed to be. I didn't destroy her world. I just stopped letting her live in mine.